Okay, so as requested in this video, we're going to be doing tips and tricks as far as like show car, mirror finish, polishing goes on a job like this MR2. Now, we use these SIA CSB discs. They're like a micro finishing disc. They're specifically designed for Clearcoat. They're a 1500, and this is what I will start off with on a job like this. So as you guys saw anyway, this was already pretty flat, but we're going to take it right back flat to start off with these discs. So the rest of the car's already been done, and what we're going to start off with doing with the DA, with an interface pad on the DA to make sure that the pressure is kept nice and even, and also the hoover attached so that we're taking away as much of the excess dust as we can as we go along. Now what that will do is that will help prevent any pigtails or anything in the surface, because the more dust gets on the surface of the panel, then as the disc and the DA are random orbiting over it, that dust gets clogged under the pad. Obviously the pad and the friction creates a little bit of heat that then almost turns the clear coat into little hard balls on the actual pad itself or onto the disc, and then that leaves like really fine pigtail scratches. Well, not fine, quite harsh pigtail scratches. So you want to use extraction, and as I'm doing here, you want to use a cloth and just try and keep as much of the excess off as you can. Now the more you wipe off, the better, and the cleaner the job will be at the end of it. It really will help as far as the pigtailing on the panels go. Now my method for this is to try and keep it nice and flat, so keep that pad nice and flat, keep the pressure on the DA nice and even, and then just work up to your edges. So we're not going to be trying to sand the edge of that arch, we're not going to be trying to get right at the bottom edge of that wing, we're not going right to the top edge of the wing. We're going to leave maybe a centimetre all the way around as a safety barrier, so that we don't risk sanding the edges off the panels and putting a rub through there straight away, because that's what we can do. You know, we can tickle up those edges in like the second stage. Now if you want that ultimate mirror finish on a car, then starting off with a coarser grade like this is a lot better, because it's got a harsher cut. It will cut the top out of that peel really nice and really flat, and as long as obviously the bodywork that you did underneath it is really nice, then literally this will rip through the peel in a matter of minutes. Even on a full car like this, it won't take you long to do this process. If you've started off with a pretty, nice flat clear coated surface, you can see the bottoms of the doors there, the reflection in them. There's nothing wrong with that. It's at least factory, if not better than factory anyway on this job, as it stands, but we want to go that extra mile with it being a black one and make this an absolute shining mirror at the end of it. So I'm going to take my time, I'm taking my time as much as I can to go around this and make sure all that peel is removed. I'm not rushing this process because, again, I don't want to leave any harsh marks in there. I want to take my time. As you can see there, I've gone just up to the edge, but I've not got the edges, so I'm leaving that little bit of a safety barrier. That then the next step would be to go in with some 3M microfine wet and dry, and then go around the outskirts of that, just to make sure that all that outer edge, then obviously the peel is removed the same as the inner edge. Now one thing that I would say when you're doing this is, obviously, the less you take off these edges at each stage, the better. So in the first stage, we've completely missed the edges. In this stage, I'm going right up to the edges, but I'm not trying to put pressure on the edge of that panel. I'm trying to get as close up to that edge as I can without actually removing, film thickness off the very sharp edges. The more we can leave on in the sanding stage, the better. Take your time. Work this up nice and slow. Don't rush it. Now I've done that in one hit, but feel free, if you do a section, to wipe it off, dry it down with the airline, inspect it, then do it a little bit more if you need to. And once you've got that fully matted off finish all the way across, then you know it's going to be nice and flat. Now my next stage would be a P3000. Now there's two variations of this. You can get the SIA 3000s, which are around about 25 quid for a 10, or you've got the option of the 3M TRIZACTS, which these days £60 plus for like 15 discs. Now you use one of these on an interface pad. Again, you're using it wet. I think the official instruction with these is to use them damp, not wet. I'll be honest with you, I prefer to use them wet. Another thing to add is I don't add any soap or any extra lubricant into the water, like dish soap or washing up liquid, anything like that. I just use pure water. I prefer it that way. I find that I get a slightly harsher cut, but at the same time, it's not like, on a job like this when I'm going up to a 3000, a 2000 is not too harsh. I can polish that straight out anyway. I just find that leaving no soap in there just makes it have that extra bit of grip. Yes, the soap is designed to go in there as a little bit of lubricant, to help obviously the wet flat slip and slide, but I find that sometimes it can foam up and actually do the opposite, and it stops me from cutting as well as I want. Now the whole reason we've kept off them edges as much as we can is when I do this TRIZACTing stage, as you can see, I am not being careful with them edges. I know there's more than enough clear on that panel that if I run right up to the edge and over the edge, I'm not going to be taking too much off and rubbing it through. But bearing in mind, once we've done this 3000 stage, which again, you want to take your time, go nice and slow. The more you 3000 that, the easier it will be to polish. And as I'm drying this down, you can see compared to the bonnet and compared to the door next to it, now it's already starting to get almost like a satin look to it, because those 1500 marks have now been brought all the way up to a P3000. We've gone right up to the edges, as you can see. That whole panel now, unlike the bonnet, has gone right up to the edges. And normally what I would do with a process like this is do each stage of this over the complete car before I started polishing or anything. But I wanted to get this video made this week for you guys, and I was running late on this day. The whole car is actually now polished. Now, for the cutting compound, I'm actually using the raw ceramic cut, which I've been testing out recently. I'm not really going to give any thoughts on that yet. I'll let you guys know on that in a future video when I do a little comparison between different compounds, what I've found works best for different things. And I'm using the Roots wool. I think it's their coarse polishing head. Now it's half wool, half foam. These are quite aggressive, which again, some people might sort of think, well, you don't want to use something like that on a black car like this, but I do. I started off with a very, very harsh 1500, and then I've gone straight to a 3000. So I want a really coarse cut, and as horrible as it sounds, I don't want to be sat there for the next 3 days polishing a small car like this. This should take a matter of a couple of hours to do this whole process over a car this size, if you use and sort of pick and choose your pads and your polishes and everything to suit the job that you're doing. Now every clear coat is different. Some clear coats react better to different heads and different polishes. It's something that you need to test on the job when you start the job, or even use this clear on a test panel, and this was done in the 60/30 clear coat, which polishes really nice anyway, so I knew this wouldn't be an issue. Now again with this, I'm being nice and slow, nice and careful. If you notice, the rotation of my polisher is always coming off the panel. So when you've got an edge, it's always rotating off the edge, never at an edge. And what that is doing is basically, again, saving that film thickness on the edge of them panels, because a very, very coarse head like this could easily chew through a sharp panel edge like this has got. So as you can see there, my head is running off the edge, never at the edge. And again, take your time, don't rush it. You don't need to be moving lightning fast. Yes, this is a rotary polisher. Yes, it's a very coarse cut and it's a very coarse head, but if you know you've got plenty of clear on there, and like this car has been sat now for about 2 weeks, wait for this to go rock hard before we start this process, then I am quite happy that I can take my time in cutting this back up. Now you'll see there, we've already got a pretty nice shine on this, and you can see the light bars through that, just how nice and flat and straight they are. But this is just one stage on the polishing of 3. Now throughout the polishing stage, I will keep the coarse cut for this stage and for the next stage, and then I will finish with like a medium cut polish. Now I'll use the rotary for the first 2 steps just for speed. I find that the rotary, obviously because of the speed, it's much more aggressive. You do need to be careful with it on your edges, and also with how much heat you're putting into the panel and into the paint, because it's aggressive. You don't want to get too carried away. And what you probably notice is at each stage I am wiping off and just checking that I have got the full next patch that I'm doing 100% before I move on. Now we're on to the rotary again. Again, we're going to be using the raw ceramic cut, but now I've got a medium foam. So this is like a medium to a fine. It's quite a what was the best way of putting it? It's not a hard foam, but it's not a really soft one. I'm going over with this now, not for so much swirl removal, but that harsh cutting wool head will leave a lot of marking and a lot of swirling in effect, I suppose, on the surface, because we've been using a rotary. So what I'm doing here is I'm going over with a nice clean soft head, again with the cut. And the main aspect of this, especially on a black car like this, is purely to get rid of all the marks that the wool head will have left. Now I'm going nice and slow, nice and controlled, nice overlaps, making sure I don't miss anywhere. Go over the whole thing, and again at the end clean it all off and check it to make sure that you're happy before you move on to the next stage. Now the next stage for me, we've got an Auto Bright DA12 DA polisher, which is what we finish all our medium / dark coloured cars with, and you can already see there it's got a really nice reflection to it. I'll use the Menzerner medium cut polish with a nice soft foam pad, and throughout this whole process I am regularly using the airline to clean my polishing pads out, to keep any excess clear coat and paint out of the pad, and also any hard compound or polish residue out of the pads, to keep them nice and soft and supple. Now I have got this wound right up, so this polisher is not on a slow setting, it's on quite a high setting, and this footage obviously is sped up. So I am going over this in a really nice slow controlled motion, taking my time. Again, don't want to miss anything. I'm just going nice and slow, real nice slow strokes. Now on something that I want like a show car finish on, a car this size, we can achieve a full perfectly flat show car finish on a car like this in less than 1 day, from it being uncut, so freshly painted, right up to being a complete mirror finish. And like you see there is zero peel in this. It's got an absolutely amazing reflection. You know, you can see everything in my cupboard behind it. It's absolutely ridiculous, the reflection that you can get. But it's take your time at each process. Now this is a little bit of a walkthrough of the side. Now this was after the heavy cutting session, so this was just with the wool head. I still had to use the other 2 on it as well, but I just thought I'd give you guys a little bit of a walk down the side to show you what this looked like. And obviously this car will appear in another video very soon, but there is a mirror finish side. So that's it for me for today, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again soon for the next one. Bye for now.